Hey guys, it's Colin Gallagher here with the Colin Gallagher podcast. We are a top 400 spirituality podcast with the intention to be a space that you can come and tune in to receive a frequency that will activate, educate, and empower you to begin living a lifestyle you love that supports you financially. If you're returning, oh, hey. And if you're brand new, well, hello and welcome. Spirituality became a passion of mine because I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer at age 14. And after 9 long years of suffering, I self-healed my body, mind, and soul. So in these episodes, I bring you my own voice as well as people I meet along my journey to offer perspective, inspiration, and real-life proof that when you choose to follow your dreams, you say yes to what is inside of your heart, that you will begin to create a lifestyle that is wildly impactful, fulfilling, and abundant beyond your wildest dreams. We cover topics from health and wellness, digital marketing, new age spirituality, global development, and pop culture current events as it relates to the Great Awakening. So get ready, tune in, subscribe, and make sure to leave us a review to let us know what you're loving. And you could always email us on my website, www.collingallagher.co, to request episode topics and let us know how everything is going. I love you and thank you for being part of this collective community. I'm so excited for the day that I get to meet you and give you a hug. And with that, we are at episode 124. Oh my goddess. And it is the first episode of 2023. I'm so ecstatic. I'm so thrilled. I'm so overjoyed to be here with you guys. I know this podcast has been growing a lot since the last episode, which was the last week of November. So it's been about 6 weeks since an episode has been placed, which is the longest probably ever on the Colin Gallagher podcast. But before I get into this episode, which is going to be what I've learned from posting an erotic photo on the internet, I want to just give some background of what has really gone on in my life the past 6 weeks. So I've kind of been, I don't want to say MIA totally from my business, but I've been more hands off. I've been more like in my own experience behind the scenes. I've been more, really in experiential artistry. I've been putting myself in scenarios and putting myself in situations that have forced me to expand, that have forced me to grow past things that were limiting, that have, that were like emotional nuances inside of me that I wanted to break through, but it just felt like for whatever reason, I could never break through. In these past 6 weeks, I've really harnessed breaking through, which has been a really profound experience for me. And it's something that I want to share more about here. But first, I want to talk about what we're talking about today. But I just wanted to let you know that wherever you are in your life, whatever it is you're going through, there's going to be times in your career that you're fully full force and you're full throttle and you're going. And I feel like that was a lot of my last 5 years in Colin Gallagher International, like always sharing, always live, always posting, always like launching. And it also was nice to like realize all of these digital assets that I've created where I didn't have to necessarily produce. I could just reuse content or courses or things that I'd had while I'm in this like deep experiential artistry in my life. And an experiential artist means that you are intentionally with intent, and intent means to do something with awareness. You are doing something with awareness to put yourself in experiences that you know may be slightly uncomfortable or slightly outside of your zone of what you're used to, for the purpose to gain experience, to gain wisdom through whatever scenario you're with intent, with awareness, putting yourself in, to empower you to enlighten or to evolve to another state of being or another state of awareness. So there's times in your life when I would recommend everybody, which I feel like a lot of my business has been, this is me going first to find out an answer that was haunting me in my life, that if I could travel the world full time, if I could create an online business, if I could help people and make money, like I had these deeply, I don't know, troubling thoughts or deeply anxious. Like I had these things that I wanted to do and I wasn't quite sure how to do it. But I then made experiences or created opportunities for myself for me to go through the pathway of what I wanted to experience. So anyway, that's kind of what I wanted to share of what I've been doing. And in your career, there will be moments that you'll have that, but you still have assets that are working for you. So it's not like it's totally irresponsible of like, I'm just going to go do this and trust on a limb and maybe pray to God. Like you have a plan, you have an action, you have like an intent of action, like why you want to experience that, why you want to evolve, why you want to reach a certain level. So anyway, that's what I've been really experiencing these past 6 weeks. And it's been a beautiful journey for me. I feel like I look different. I feel different. I feel more present. I feel more relaxed. I feel more in my body. I feel more trusting of myself. And so anyway, this episode, what I really wanted to focus on is what I learned from posting an erotic photo on the internet. So for those of you, some of you saw it and some of you didn't. The photo was on the internet for about 2 hours, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more. But to give background, I have a poetry book that's coming out end of March of 2023. So it's super exciting, you guys, 2 months away. And it's an erotic poetry book. And in this book, I have photos with my poetry, and I'm doing it self-published. So I want to own all the rights. And so anyway, I felt really inspired and called to post a photo from the poetry book and a poem from the book. And I launched it and I was going to share it. Okay. You could, give me your email to be on the pre-order, or you could, register for my free training that I have Tuesday, January 24th. And also, the last Tuesday in January, to really learn more how to create a life you love, focus on intimacy. And the last month is going to be focused on branding. And so I did this and I felt so confident. I felt so alive and I trusted myself, even though it was a very erotic photo. Some say it was even maybe soft porn. I don't really feel that. I feel it was just a very like erotic, sensual moment. And the poetry that went with it was just so divine. I could actually read it to you guys. Let's see here. I'll read you the poem. So it gives you a better perspective for those of you like putting your imagination of what did this photo look like? So the poem was this. I'll share it with you. And it had the erotic photo with it. The eyelids awakening from darkness into light, a beloved looking down upon you like sun gazing upon the earth. You feel the warmth from their eyes, activating your body cells, forgetting to take off makeup from the night before because you fell asleep to him rubbing your bruised foot and playing with your hair. Makeup remains stay in the pillowcase. He gently asked, may I take a photo? All alpha female programs, will it be leaked? Will this come back to bite me later with karma? We live in this world that has taught women to be guarded and protected. As women, we must do everything we can to preserve our image of innocence. Because Lord, behold, if a beautiful moment was captured by a beloved, the world may come crumbling down. And as men, you're living in this place of such fear. Will shame and terror be brought to my name if I do the wrong thing? All these collective programs running within our minds, from news headlines and various iconic personal name stories of horror birthing from the desire for connection. The incompatible ways of the masculine and feminine sometimes cause accidental head-on collisions that become atomic bomb explosions. Then add to the mixture the confusion of in-person and digital connection. We are locked away, forced to have energy pulsating through our bodies, craving a connection. How do we begin to return to the presence of what's alive at this moment without entertaining the fear of the future outcome? Him capturing a moment so she can be witnessed, the lens he views her through, to possibly share the beauty of this stillness and calmness, the innocence and imperfection, the dissolving of the alpha female mind into trusting him. Allowing yourself to become the art piece that allows intimacy to be a forever moment of inspiration for all. For me, for us, this represents the moment of true surrender outside the matrix paradigm of turning inward to love, turning inward, allowing love to take over and caress our body and mind. So that in this moment of presence, from darkness to light, asleep to awake, we see that intimacy is the only key to unlocking divine destiny and liberated pleasure. Intimacy into me so I can see. And it was a very erotic, like I said, some say it's soft porn photo. But what I learned and what I want to share, because this book is like a work of art that I've been working on for nearly 3 years. Like it's a poetry book that is so deeply ingrained in my heartbreak and so deeply ingrained in my just my life experience of like these deeply moving moments of love that have occurred in my life, and what I want to share for those of you who are maybe struggling with these emotional ups and flows of love. And so, I posted this and most of the feedback was amazing. I got more emails to pre-order for my poetry book than ever before. I had more enrollments for my free training. I had like these beautiful, heartfelt comments from men that were on my posts. Like not one was like a sexy one, or not one was like a weird one. Like it was genuinely people outpouring like, wow, I feel this and I'm ready for a relationship and I'm ready for this. And so I wanted to do this podcast episode because I wanted to talk about the concerns that I got. So privately, I got a few messages of like, hey, I'm really confused. Why do you have like a half naked photo? Even though there was like a line over it. Some women were like, oh, it really turns me off. It's way too much. Some men said like, hey, it didn't land because I didn't read the poem. I just saw the photo. So I was very confused why you were posting this. Some of the older women in my community or this community were like, are you going more OnlyFans? Like what's happening here? Because I have that dynamic, exotic look of beauty. And I have that brilliance part, which is a really hard line to walk as a woman, because if I was like a supermodel posting that, there'd be like no issue. It would have been like, oh my God, when is this coming out on paperboard or, on poster board or something like this. But because I'm an academic, because I'm an entrepreneur, it was like, it almost swung too far to like, you have everything in balance, and polarity is good when you're in imagery. Like it's good to have polarizing photos or things that are out there, but you have to do it within balance of your brand. And this was a little bit what I realized, too off balance for the brand that I currently have, even though the brand is shifting more to relationships and intimacy. So I really wanted to talk about, I wanted to address it here on this episode because I had an Uber driver and he was like, this would be a really good podcast. So I want to talk about here 3 things that I feel is really important from posting an erotic photo. One is I want to talk about what I learned for myself and my image. One, I want to talk about from a branding perspective, anyone who has a brand or who's building a brand. And one, I want to talk about from a community building perspective. So I want to give you these 3 lenses of what I learned because I think they're each really important. And as you grow as a leader, definitely as a content creator, as a coach, as an influencer, you have a larger responsibility to your audience and to the people that you are serving. So when I just started and I had the year and I maybe had like 5,000 followers on me, where now I have 80,000, like we're pushing 100,000 people that are watching what I do, that are influenced by what I do. Like they are cognitively listening to what I say and then making decisions in their life that influence the direction of their life. And so you carry a different responsibility. And so the first thing I want to say that I learned for myself and my image is one is that I have a company, Colleen Gallagher International, and that company has values. And the values in that company, one of them being inclusivity, meaning that everything I do, I always want to make sure it's inclusive. It's really important to me. And I feel like that's why I have such a diverse audience. Like everyone always asks me, what is the thread that brings so many people together? Like I have people that are teenagers up to 80-year-old people that have been clients. I have a large audience of men and I have an audience of women. I have people that are Democratic. I have people that are Republican. I have gay men. I have lesbian women. I haven't had any transgender clients, but I know I have people in the following or in the community with that. And, I have people that have been monogamous, married for a long time. I have people that are open relators, not so much polyamory. But I have people that are very spiritual, I have people that are very much business driven. Like I have a very wide audience. And so the biggest thing of my brand, like is always feeling inclusive because I know what it feels like to be outcasted. I know what it feels like to not feel included for who you really are. And so that is like a foundational pillar in my brand is inclusivity. And so for myself, what I learned is when I've had this very innocent, good girl, nice girl image that's online, and I posted something so erotic that was off balance. Like it wouldn't have been maybe if I was like, topless and turned around, you just saw my back, but it was like, laying in a bed, I had no top on. a line over my top area. Like it looked, it was erotic. It was but it was such a sensual moment. It was so beautiful. Like, because my love that I woke up to that day, like, it just was beautiful. The way he woke me up, the way that he was leaving, the way he was like letting me get ready in the room. Like, it just was such a beautiful moment in time. And so what I learned for myself and my image is that you have to, as you grow, you have to be really clear, like, what are your values? What are the values that you live by? What are the values your company lives by? What are the values your organization lives by? And with whatever you're going to post, and I learned this a lot during also the whole shutting down of the world, you have to be mindful of how you're communicating so that it's inclusive of everybody. Even if you have a stance on something, like you believe something about something, like, which I had a very strong stance about Western medicine. And I have a very strong stance on holistic healing and not just doing something because the government's saying like, we should go do this, so it needs to be done. Like, I had a very strong opinion, but because my opinion was so strong, it wasn't inclusive of the people who only knew Western medicine, who like that was their only paradigm. They'd never been taught Eastern philosophy. Maybe they'd never left America. They didn't know that majority of the world doesn't function in Western medicine. Like, majority of the world doesn't have the problems that Western medicine people do, because it's the way our lifestyle is inhibiting this type of medicine being needed. Instead of Eastern philosophy, you live your life in such a way where it's not even required because the way your whole life is set up. So I had to realize that I wasn't being inclusive when I posted this erotic photo, because it was no context. Like, the poetry book isn't here yet. I haven't fully shifted my brand to like relationship and intimacy. So it was too polarizing. It was too off balance, where it wasn't inclusive of the community. So that was one thing that I learned for myself, of like, okay, making sure I really filter through everything, like in my filtering of my values of my company. Does this image and does this content fit that? Does it? And starting number one with inclusivity, because that is like the number one thing. I know that feeling of what it feels like to be annihilated, to be made fun of, like sitting there by yourself and you know people are making fun of you. Like, an example I can give you, I was over at this girl's house one time, and we were over there and they're like, let's play hide and seek. I was like, okay. So they like put me in this box or something. And when I was like in the box or something, they were like, we'll hide while you're in the box. I was like, okay. And I did that. And then they left me for like 30 minutes. Like, I was like, hey guys, are you ready? Are you ready? And I realized they weren't like coming back. And I was like, oh my God, they just literally put me in a box so I wouldn't be like hanging out with them. Like, it was horrible. It was like the worst. I mean, it was horrible. Like, I didn't even have words for it, because it was like, so like, why was I hanging out with people and they put me in a box just to like not hang out with me? Like, literally. And I just know that feeling. Like, they're like laughing about me while they're like living their life, and I'm just hiding. Like, they put me in a box and I let myself be put there. Like, I know that feeling of even sitting by yourself at lunch, people are making fun of your lunchbox, but you think it's like the coolest lunchbox ever. Like, I just hate that feeling of uninclusivity. So that is such a value of mine, where I got it for the image of the erotic photo. It doesn't really have a place in my branding online now, but in the book, it's a perfect place because there's a perfect content, and that's not something that people want. Erotic poetry book. They don't have to go there. They don't have to open it. And they don't have to see that side of me. So, that's number one. Number two that I want to talk about from my image is that I do have an image to maintain, because whether we like it or not, when we start a brand, people, we start with a certain one. Obviously, the way that I started was much more like, good girl, I want to travel the world and do this. Now I'm like almost going to be a doctor in philosophy. I have so many programs. I'm a definite influencer. I'm a podcast host. Like, I don't have the same, I don't want to say freedom, because you do, but I don't have the same freedom where I can just decide to wake up today and post something. Like, I have like a history of like a magazine you could create, or like a history of like a digital archive, where I have a responsibility of who I'm becoming and being more mindful of consistently being a representation for that. And that also goes for behind the scenes. Like, there is parties I won't go to, or there is definitely like locations I won't go to in LA just because of who I am. Like, I don't want to say it in a bougie way, but it just because like I would never be seen dead there, you know, because it's just like, it's not good for my brand. It's like, it would, someone knew I was there or saw me, like it would be like not a good thing. And so you do have another level of responsibility once you start a brand for yourself and your image of what you're doing and how you're portraying that message, as you are the art piece. You are the centerfold. You are the thing that matters. So that's number one from that lens. Number two, from a branding perspective, which is what I want to talk about, which is kind of image, but it's a little bit different. So branding obviously goes back to what I said very clearly, is like, what are your values? What is the image you're trying to portray? If you want to change that image, you can, but it can't just be like, okay, today I'm doing gym and next day I'm doing shopping and the next day I'm whatever. I mean, you can, but there has to be a thread that brings it together. So I realized, even though I am doing an erotic poetry book, my closest clients know to me about this erotic poetry book for maybe 6 or 8 months now, but my whole community hasn't known about it for that long, because I haven't like fully done a launch, you know, like, oh my God, this is coming. Like, it's more been like soft launch behind the scene. So from a branding perspective, like, just as if you were to do like, I don't know, if Apple was to come out with like a totally brand new design of their phone, and it was like, let's say they'd like, it was just so different and so polarizing and so like, I don't even know how to describe it. Like, let's say like they were to like, it starts to look more like Android or something like this. Like, everyone would be like, what? Like, it would be so shocking, because there was no, like, we have a new phone coming out. We have a new whatever coming out. We have a new design coming out. Like, there was no like soft launch of information or like readiness for the branding, for the mind to land. Like, there was nothing. So, from a branding perspective, you want to, what I learned from posting an erotic photo, you want to be mindful as a content creator, like really looking at, even though something's so alive in your life and it's present of what you're working on, but your audience doesn't know that. So like finding ways to soft launch things if you're like changing branding or initiating new colors, so that things like when they launch, it's like it's more well received, because it's like there was like a leading up to it. So that's what I learned from a branding perspective. And then from a community building perspective, which I think is really important, because I'm a big person on building community. I'm a big person on inclusivity. Like, I really believe that this online community I've created and we've curated and we've grown together is so meaningful and so impactful. And people are like commenting when I deleted the photo, because I did delete the photo and I reposted the poem with another photo. You have to, people are like, oh, you don't, you know, when you're changing, don't care, you know, it doesn't matter what people think. But when you are the person who's built the community and you've like put your blood, sweat, and tears, like more time than you could ever imagine into people, into responding, into being there for strangers. Like, when you've done that for nearly half a decade, 5 years, half of a decade, you've done that, you're going to care. You're not going to just not care. Like, you're going to care deeply, because you've put half of a decade into something. That's like equity that you can never get back. Like, that's timing you cannot get back. And when it comes to community building, when people have a response, now this was like, if it was like something like, even when it was like I said, during the era of Western medicine, when the whole world was shut down for 2 years, like that, I wasn't so much more concerned about, because I have a very strong stance for this. This is something brand new. It's erotic, and I want it to land well, because most people feel sexually deprived. They feel like their love life sucks. Their career is super successful, but their relationships are boring and they suck, and there's nothing fun about them. I want to make sure, as I make this shift into communicating about a new way of relating, a new way of connecting, as I communicate this, or as I go into this, I want to make sure that it lands. And if I go too polarized, and even though I've been, like I said, having these 6 weeks of intense experiences, and I mean, not just that, but really accelerating my life, it's really been a decade of my life that I've been dissecting love and going into love, and really like what makes it work, what makes it not work, like all these things. But like the past 6 weeks accelerated me into such a way of like, it up-leveled my network, it up-leveled my state of being, my state of mind. And so I want to make sure when I'm posting something, even though I've gone maybe a certain direction, that it doesn't lose the majority of the community I've built, that you guys are able to receive what I'm experiencing, what I'm writing, and the imagery I'm posting isn't so off-putting or so polarizing that you can't receive the content. Where if, let's say I was already, like, let's say we're in March 2023, and a lot of my content's gonna be about eroticism and relationships and open relationships and jealousy and diving deeper into love and connection. Like, let's say, right, that was already there. And then I posted a photo like that because I already had all this imagery that's kind of going in that. It would have been way better. Like, it would have been much more well received. I'm like, oh, that's polarizing, but like, I get it. Cause there's already so much, like I said, from a branding perspective, there's already so much launching. There's already so much being like, dwindled into the communication through imagery that it wouldn't have been so shocking from like good girl, business girl, like boom, that could be soft porn. Where it would be like, wow, she's really getting this. Whoa, that's a polarizing photo, but okay. And like moving forward. So from a community building perspective, you have to care about what your community thinks, and you have to care like what they're sharing. And it's important you receive their feedback and you really look at, okay, was this post or was this what I was sharing? Because my purpose is to add value. My purpose is to serve. Was this received in the way that I intended? So with intent, right? With awareness, I wanted to get this point across, eroticism. I wanted them to feel like the beauty of a beloved waking you up and like wanting to take a photo of you and seeing how beautiful they see you, and the inner cluster dynamics we have with men and women of like trying to connect sometimes, but it misses, but then it like hits. And I wanted to like land that plane of like the chaotic morning thoughts, like pleasured in like once you've gone through the shit, like you've like gone through all these shitty relationships or shitty things, and then like the plane has landed to like something's beautiful and something's perfect and someone's witnessing you with beauty. Like I wanted to land that of like true intimacy where it wasn't even like sex. It wasn't even anything. It was just like true intimacy of a moment of the love that someone sees you with by when you wake up in the morning. And I missed it. Like that point wasn't taken because the photo was too far. And that is important that you listen to your community on that, so that you can really see, like, are they saying it's too much because they're negative, or like they getting the point, or like they just can't get the point. So those are really the things that I learned that I wanted to share. And I most importantly wanted to share with you guys, like, I'm just so grateful for all of you and your support and the growingness that this community is happening, like how much we're growing, how quickly we're growing. And I want you to know that sensuality, sexuality, open relationships, beauty, touch, the right people are here for you. Like the right people that want to see you thrive, the right people that want to love you. There's people that want to love you. They want to see you thrive. They want to support you. They want to pleasure you. They want your life to be just beyond what you could describe. And I want you to know it's possible. That's the biggest thing. I really want you to walk away with this. And I want you to know that when you're building your brand as a coach, as a content creator, as a mentor, as a leader, it's not always going to be perfect. You're going to make some whoopsies. You're going to do some things that your community doesn't like or has negative feedback. It doesn't mean you're a bad leader. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means you missed the mark on your intent of what you thought wasn't the response of your community or your audience. And that's good. It means they're giving you feedback. It means they care. One of the best things I've always heard in sales is that when people give you feedback, it's because they care. The moment people are quiet, it means they don't care. So always be grateful to put yourself out there, and whatever feedback you get, tune in. Does it go with my values? Does it go with this? Is the message getting across and these people start resonating? So the right people are coming. That will happen too. Or did I miss the mark? And when you do that, your life just becomes incredible. So anyway, I hope you guys have a good start to the week. I'm super excited if you guys join line on YouTube. I love you. I honor you. I really hope this helped. I would love your feedback on this episode. Did you like more of the erotic part? Did you like the content creation digital side? Did you like the community building side? Did you like the poem? I would love to hear your feedback. And so the things to do after listening to this. So I have 3 call to actions for you after listening to this, what I would suggest you do. 1, if you liked the poem that I shared and you want to get the poetry book, make sure to reach out to me on any social media, The Colleen Gallagher. Send us your email so we make sure that you are on the list for pre-order. That's going to be something really special. So any social media platform, The Colleen Gallagher, send us your email and say, I want the poetry book. We'll get that to you. The second thing that I recommend is I have a free training that's going to be January 24th, tomorrow. If you're listening to this on January 23rd, 2023, how to create a life you love, focus on intimacy. And we have one the last week of January 31st, I think that is, of 2023. So you can register. We'll have the links here, or you can reach out again on The Colleen Gallagher, any social media platform, and say, I want the link, and we will get you the link for that. The third thing that I recommend is that if you are wanting to become a content creator or someone who's a coach, I highly recommend going to my website, colleengallagher.co, and you can go to the online experiences tab, and there's a bunch of social media courses. So I have like a 3-day social media course. I have like a how to build community social media course. And I have relationship courses, how to overcome heartbreak. So I would really look at those courses to start enrolling in a self-study course to expand your mind on what can be possible for you in this life. So those are the 3 things I'd say. Message me poetry book on The Colleen Gallagher, message me free training on The Colleen Gallagher, or go to my website, colleengallagher.co, and begin to look at a social media course or a relationship course to really support you in your expansion to creating a life you love. So I hope this helped. I hope to hear from you soon. Please leave us a review if you love this, and we'll talk soon.